Welcome to Out of the Break, a behind-the-scenes look at the most pressing issues in the world of college football as it relates to North Central Florida. Out of the Break is brought to you by Chris Doering Mortgage. Now here's the host of the Sports Fix, Adam Reardon and Chris Doering.
Hey, Chris Doering here with Adam Reardon, my co-host on the Sports Fix. You can listen to us daily on AM 850 here in Gainesville, AM 900 in Ocala from 10 to noon. And it is game week, and since it's game week, wanted to talk a little bit about some of the pressing topics of the week. And one of the biggest topics has been the same topic we've dealt with all summer long, and that's going to be who's the quarterback here at the University of Florida.
Well, it's funny listening to Will Muschamp. Who's going to be the starting quarterback to start the game may not actually tell us as much as who's going to be the starting quarterback coming out in the second half. They look like they're going to let both guys take equal amounts of snaps, hopefully, during the game on Saturday, and then go into halftime, reevaluate. And the guy who comes out in the second half may, in fact, be the guy who's got the inside track.
To me, this is a terrible sign. We hear the saying all the time, if you have a two-quarterback system, you don't have one good quarterback. To me, I don't think this is what either Brent Pease or Will Muschamp wanted to have happen. I think they wanted to name a starter heading into game week. And because these guys, just my guess, because these guys haven't separated themselves, not because of great play, but more along the lines of being average, I think they're going to allow this competition to continue. And I think for me as a receiver, I want to know who my starting quarterback is. Now, that's not to say we didn't have some success with two quarterbacks in there. We flip-flopped back and forth between Danny and Terry for a number of years there. But to me, I would like to have the clearly defined leader of this offense.
How about for the quarterbacks themselves? I think as a quarterback, one of the things you have to have is a confidence. And if you feel like you're going to make a mistake and there's always that guy ready to come in behind you, it may change your game. So I think for the quarterbacks as well, the receivers, I think for the continuity of the entire offense, it's just good to have a starting quarterback and then know who your defined backup is as well should an injury occur, like we saw last year. That's how all three quarterbacks played last year because Brantley was the starter. He got banged up against Alabama. Driscoll comes in. He gets hurt. That's how Brissett got his opportunity. I would like to see a starting quarterback named 2 weeks ago, as a matter of fact, but we're not going to see it until Lord knows when, actually.
Look at it from the other side of the coin is you got two good guys that are comparable. One of them goes down. Maybe you don't skip a beat much when you have to put that second guy in there. We'll see how it goes. You think about two quarterback systems that have been successful in recent years. There was some flip-flopping amongst Chris Leak and Tim Tebow in the 2006 National Championship season. DJ Shockley and David Green at Georgia were used well interchangeably from time to time, but still, I don't think that's an ideal situation.
But when you mentioned the problem with that situation, you're talking about two examples there of guys that had totally polar opposite skill sets. We're talking about two guys at Florida that are essentially the same guy, and neither one has been able to separate themselves from each other. The one positive thing for this football team, and maybe not having a defined quarterback, is what Will Muschamp wants to do and what this team looks like it's going to be built to do is to run the football with power and then play great defense. And to win like that, you don't necessarily have to have a Heisman Trophy quarterback to win football games like that inside the SEC. We look
no further than Alabama.
That's right.
That's their recipe.
A.J. McCarron was as highly recruited or maybe even less so recruited as a guy like Jeff Driscoll or even a Jacoby Brissett. So you can win football games like that inside this conference and nationally. And I think that Will Muschamp, obviously with his experience at an LSU, obviously at a Texas, you know how to play defensive football, win games with the running game as well. And so for Florida, not having a quarterback is, to me, bad news. I don't want to sugarcoat it, but it's not terrible news by any means.
It was here in this end zone where I caught my SEC record-breaking touchdown. But all of those touchdowns would not have been possible if it weren't for great teammates working together for one goal. The same is true when it comes to purchasing a home. At Chris Doering Mortgage, our experienced and knowledgeable team can handle all types of loans. And like football, timing is everything. With rates at historic lows and prices from a decade ago, now is the time to buy. Call us today to put my all-star team to work for you. Chris Doering Mortgage, a name you know, a name you can trust. Let's take a quick look. You mentioned the running game and the defense. Couple guys named in the depth chart. Surprises. We knew Mike Gillislee was going to be the starter. The backup, though, goes to Mack Brown, a guy that's been around a little longer. He was able to edge out true freshman Matt Jones. I think you'll see a lot of those guys playing, including Amarius Hines in there as well. Chris Johnson's another guy. We'll see how they distribute the bulk of those carries. And then defensively, the position we looked at a lot was the corner position, the secondary in general. Maybe some disturbing news in terms of Pop Saunders, a guy that's been announced he'll miss 2 games. Will Muschamp wouldn't talk whether it was injury or whether it was suspension. My guess is probably that it was suspension, but some concern as to the health of his hamstring. People saying this may be a long-term injury for Pop Saunders.
Could be an issue for Pop Saunders. Now, I want to go back to the running back position, which you mentioned. Obviously, Gillislee is going to get the shot as a starter. Mack Brown now a backup. Good for him because he was a guy at points during last season and maybe even the season before. You start talking about if he doesn't get his shot, maybe he's a kid that transfers. 2 guys that you didn't mention that will see time in the backfield, and I think that can be great weapons for Florida's offense is Hunter Joyer, a kid I'm very impressed with his skill sets, and then a guy like Trey Burton, who you'll see all over the football field. We've seen him in the backfield, seen him line up there, go in motion, and create havoc for other defenses. I think the backfield, when you talk about the running backs, they're in a good spot. Do they have a guy that's going to take it 85 yards like they had last year? Yeah. Probably not. But do they have guys that against an LSU or against an Alabama-type defense inside the SEC can gain 4 tough yards? I think they got plenty of that. Now, the defense, I think, is obviously the strong suit for Florida. Starts up front with the line, even without a guy like Ronald Powell. Now you've got a true freshman ready to step up in that situation.
Dante Fowler, not even named the second guy. He's going to be the third-string guy, but should play a lot there, so it goes to show. And they've been impressive in the entire summer. It goes to show the strength, that depth that Florida has on the defensive line, and that's going to be important. But I think at the corner spots, you feel good about Roberson. Luchez Purifoy is another guy that's going to be in the mix along with Jalen Watkins. So some talent there in the secondary. And I think you find yourself in a position much like what Will Muschamp would like, is to have a strong, experienced defense. You got improved offensive line, supposedly. You got a physical running game. And it looks like that blueprint that Nick Saban has put together at Alabama.
Here's the one thing Saban, obviously didn't have last year, and I think that Florida has. If they play games that are close inside the Southeastern Conference, what Florida has that Nick Saban didn't have last year is a guy you feel real confident in when it comes to kicking the football, in Caleb Sturgis. If games come down to last-second field goals, Caleb Sturgis really stepped up last year, was a finalist for the Lou Groza Awards, probably a favorite to win it this year. And if for some reason you need to kick something over 47, 48 yards, he's got plenty of leg to do that.
Hopefully the game this week against Bowling Green doesn't come down to a last-second Caleb Sturgis field goal attempt. You'd like to see a lot of guys get an opportunity to play this week. Stay healthy, because next week, right around the corner, your first SEC game, you make that first trip to College Station. We'll be back next week to wrap up the Bowling Green game and also take a look at Texas A&M. Thanks for joining us. Does it seem like there's a home refinance program for everyone but you, the responsible homeowner? Hi, Chris Doering here for Chris Doering Mortgage, and I'm excited to announce the Government Initiative Streamlined Refinance Program. With rates at historic lows, it's never been easier to refinance, saving you tens of thousands over the life of the loan. If you've made your current payment on time for the past 12 months, you may be able to refinance with no appraisal, no income verification, and no closing costs. Not sure if you qualify? Give us a call. Don't miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Chris Doering Mortgage, a name you know, a name you can trust.